there, friends. Welcome to this Warrior Power Flow. For this class, grab maybe a couple blocks if you like to use those, a strap, and if you like to use a blanket underneath your seat or anything, have that handy as well. We will get started down in a child's pose. So you can bring your knees wide, big toes back towards one another, gently press your hips back towards your heels. You can have a block under your forehead if that would feel good. Or just place your forehead down on the mat. And if you'd like to reach your arms back towards your heels, you can do that as well. Close your eyes. Start to cultivate that breath. Take some deep, even inhales and exhales. Arrive here on your mat. In today's Warrior Power Flow, we're going to move through, you guessed it, all of the warrior poses. And these poses really exemplify strength. When I think of all of those warrior poses, I think of strength and power. So take a moment here before we start to think about what inner strength means to you. And as we move through these poses, come back to those thoughts. See if you can cultivate that in the postures. You could even start here before we move with a simple mantra. I am strong. I am powerful. Anything that comes to mind for you. Take one more breath. Then slowly lift your forehead up. We'll come up onto hands and knees and meet in a tabletop. Bring your knees underneath your hips, wrists underneath your shoulders, and we'll start with some dancing lions. You can just circle your body around, bringing shoulders over wrists, hips back towards heels, moving around in one direction, warming up through the wrists, and then switch and go back the opposite way for a few rounds. Once you've done an even-ish number of circles, we'll meet back in that neutral tabletop. Take some cat-cows. On your inhale, drop your belly and lift your sit bones. Reach your sternum forward into your cow. You can gaze forward, slightly up. Exhale, press your hands into the mat. Push it away as you round your spine, tuck your pelvis, release your head. Move through a few rounds of these on your own breath, inhaling through cow and exhaling through cat. And then if you want to add any other movement into your cat-cow, you can add that as well. I like to add lateral movement sometimes, hugging like the left shoulder and the left hip towards one another. You get a nice lateral stretch up the right side. Then you could go into your cat. Take that lateral stretch to the opposite side, come through cow. But anything that feels good. You could even just wiggle. Just wiggle. It doesn't have to look a certain way. Just moving our spine in different directions. We'll come back to center and add in some wrist rocks. So first let's take our fingertips to point out to the sides, and then we'll rock side to side over the wrists. We'll do a lot of optional vinyasas today, so you don't have to take them, but if you do, we'll warm up our wrists. And then you can turn your fingertips back to face your knees. You could do this one at a time. If doing both at the same time is too intense, you could even walk your hand in a little bit closer towards your knees if you're really feeling an intense stretch there up through the forearm. And then you'll rock forward and back with that one. If you're doing one side at a time, make sure you switch sides and do the opposite hand. And as we move today, this is always your practice. So if there's something I'm doing that doesn't feel right, please take a modification, choose something different, come to child's pose. We'll turn our hands back to face forward. You can walk them about a hand's distance in front of where they are now. Curl your toes underneath and lift your hips up to your first downward facing dog. Bent knees are all good here. Keep the heels lifted. Press down through the palms. Get a long line up your spine. And then maybe walk out one heel and then the other. Maybe hearing lots of pops and cracks through my toes today. Wowza. Continue walking out those heels. And then whenever you're ready, you can tiptoe those feet up to the front of the mat, keeping bent knees. Land with your feet hips distance apart, and then we'll roll it up to stand, just one vertebrae at a time, stacking our spine. Let your head be the last to arrive. And then here at the top, we'll take a sun sal B. We don't do this one so often, so we'll inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, sit back into Utkatasana chair pose. So feet can be together or hips distance apart. Draw the belly in. We'll exhale into our forward fold. Release through the crown of your head. And then inhale, take a half lift. Hands can be on blocks, shins the mat. Reach the crown of your head forward. Exhale, plant your hands down. Step back into a plank. Can come down onto knees if you like, or go through a full chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog or cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Once you arrive in your downward facing dog, inhale and lift your right leg up high to the sky. Exhale, bring your right knee in towards your nose and plant your right foot. Lower that back heel down into Virabhadrasana 1, Warrior 1. Have some space between your legs. Take an inhale. Exhale, hands come down to frame that front foot. Spin onto your back toes. Right foot steps back to meet left in plank. Lower through chaturanga. On toes or knees, inhale cobra or up dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, lift that left leg up high to the sky. Bring that left knee in towards the nose. Plant that left foot. Right heel spins down. Inhale up. Virabhadrasana 1 on the left. Take a breath. Exhale, hands come down to frame that front foot. Spin onto the back toes. Left foot steps back to meet the right in plank. Take your vinyasa here. And then we'll meet back in downward facing dog. You can take an inhale in through your nose here. Let it go through your mouth. In your down dog, heels do not have to be down. Legs do not need to be straight. You can always have a bend in the knee. That's helping you get a long line up your spine. Next, inhale, lift your right leg up high to the sky. Bend your knee. Take a couple hip circles. Go both directions. Lift that right leg back up. Bring your right knee in towards your nose. Plant the right foot back in that Warrior 1. Arms rise up. Have some space here between your legs. Your hips do not have to point all the way to the front of the mat. That doesn't feel good for a lot of people. Palms face one another. Take an inhale. Exhale, we'll fly our arms back behind us as we reach the torso forward, hovering right above that front leg. Take a breath. Exhale, just go ahead and plant your hands down. Spin onto those back toes. We're going to swing this right leg back behind us, lift it into a three-legged plank. From there, lift your hips up. Three-legged downward facing dog on the right. Bring the right knee in back towards the nose. Plant your right foot towards the front of your mat. See if you can come forward. This is a challenge right off the bat. Into a Warrior 3. So you can hop that back foot forward if you need to, or lift up into your Warrior 3. Hands come to heart center. You can always have your hands down on blocks for a supported Warrior 3. And then take some leg lifts with that back leg. So keep the hip point facing down. Lift that back leg up and down. Hands can stay on the blocks. Can have them floating. Let's do 2 more. And then from here, see if you can come to a stork. So like a lever, torso comes up, leg comes down. If you need to step the leg down in between, it's all good. Draw that left knee in towards the center, into your stork. Maybe lose your balance. And then we'll swing that left leg right back behind us. Land in that Warrior 1 again. You're coming right back into that Warrior 1. Exhale, hands come down behind you. Interlace your fingers. Open your chest. Roll those upper arm bones up and back. And then on your exhale, hinging there at the front hip, fold forward into your humble warrior. So legs stay the same. We're working to get the right shoulder to the inside of that right knee without swinging our hips out to the side. Take 1 breath. Exhale, release the hands. They can frame that front foot. We'll step this right foot back to meet the left in our plank. And this is where those vinyasas come in. Always optional. If you want to just lift up to downward facing dog, you do you. If you want to do the vinyasa, take that as well. And we'll meet back in down dog. Take an inhale in. Exhale out. Inhale, lift that left leg up, bend your knee, take some hip circles on the left side. Do 2 or 3 in each direction. And then lift that left leg back up straight. Exhale, bring your left knee in towards your nose. Land that left foot, spin the right heel down. Inhale up, warrior 1 on the left. Take a breath. Ground down through the outer edge of that back foot. Keep that knee tracking towards those front toes. We'll fly forward now. Torso comes forward, hands reach up behind us. Challenge here not to just drape onto that thigh, but to keep everything engaged, lifting forward. Exhale, hands come down to frame that front foot, spin onto your back toes, lift that left leg behind you, 3-legged plank. Squeeze that left glute, and then lift the hips up, 3-legged downward facing dog on the left. We'll come all the way back forward, knee to nose, plant that left foot. Here's where we try to launch off into warrior 3. So if you need hands down on blocks, if you need little hops, or you could power off of that left leg, here's that inner strength. Come back to that I am statement. See if you can embody it, and then add those little leg lifts. Hands can be down. Try to keep your right hip facing down so we're not opening up through the hips. Keep a long line through your spine. Last one here, right foot can come down, or see if you can slowly rise up into your stork, drawing that right knee in towards the chest. And then we'll take it right back the way that it came and step that right foot behind us into our warrior 1 again. Take an inhale. Exhale, release those hands, interlace them the awkward way on this side. Open up your chest into a proud warrior, and then exhale, fold forward, humble warrior. Just let it all go through the crown of your head here. Check in with the hips. One more breath. Release the hands if you have the clasp. Frame that front foot. Spin onto the back toes. Left foot steps back to meet the right in your plank. Lift up to down dog, or take your vinyasa. In your vinyasa, remember to link each movement with your breath. Meet back in your downward facing dog. Get steady in your downward facing dog. Lift the sit bones up. Press into the palms and get a long line all the way up your arms, through your spine, through your sit bones. If that means bending the knees and lifting the heels, that's all good. Inhale, lift that right leg up, right knee in towards the nose again. This time we'll cartwheel up into Virabhadrasana 2. Warrior 2. We're flowing through all the warriors. So far we've done Virabhadrasana 1 and 3. Now we're at 2. In Virabhadrasana 2, stack shoulders over hips. Get those shoulders down away from your ears. Reach your arms out in opposite directions. And we'll go side to side here in our warrior 2 with some bow and arrow arms. So take that back hand, reach it forward towards the front hand, and then pull back like you're pulling on a bow to open your arms again. And then we'll come to center. So turn your right toes to the side of your mat, hands together, and we'll come to warrior 2 on the left. So we just turn the left toes out, bend the left knee, open the arms. We'll do a little bow and arrow here. Back arm comes forward, pull back on your bow. We'll come up to stand with our toes facing the side of the mat. Open it back up into the right side. Take your bow and arrow, pull with that left arm. Back to center. We'll go to the left one more time. Open the arms, pull on your bow and arrow, open the chest. Back to center. Back to warrior 2 on the right. Flip your front palm on an inhale. Reverse your warrior. Now we've added reverse warrior to the list. This is a powerful pose. Strong through the legs. Reach that right arm up overhead. Come back to that I am statement. I am strong. Exhale, right forearm to thigh. Left arm up and overhead into our extended side angle. Open the chest towards the ceiling. And then on your exhale, continue reaching this left arm forward as you spin onto the left toes. Left hand comes down next to the right foot on a block or the mat into your revolved lunge. Right arm opens towards the ceiling. Hug those inner thighs towards one another. And then we'll step back into a side plank on the left. So if you need to take some little steps to get there, it's all good. You could try to come to the outer edge, the knife edge of that left foot, and then step the right foot back on top of the left into your side plank. Once you arrive in your side plank, let's bend that right leg. Bring the toes towards the knee, and then add some toe taps in front and back. Keep pressing down through this left arm, stay steady. Tap the toes forward and behind. Next time you come behind, plant the whole foot down, and then we'll just sit down to face the back of the mat. We've got the right knee bent, left leg straight, and we'll take a Marichyasana twist. Inhale that right arm up overhead, twist towards that bent leg, towards the right. Right hand comes behind you. Hug that right knee in with your left arm. Open that chest, keep the left leg active. One breath here. Next, exhale. Come towards center again. Release the twist. Take a little counter twist towards the left. And then we'll do a fun little flip-flop move here. Place your hands down on the mat. We'll spin onto those back toes. Lift that right leg up behind you, and we're in that three-legged plank. If you would like to keep the three-legged plank for your vinyasa, you can. You could take a normal vinyasa. You can skip the vinyasa. Do whatever feels best for you. Back in your downward facing dog, let's lift that left leg up. Exhale, knee in towards nose. Plant the left foot, cartwheel up into warrior two on the left. Get steady in your warrior two. Plant both feet firmly into the mat. You can gaze over those front fingers, have energy going out through those arms. We'll add in the bow and arrow arm. So right arm reaches forward, pull it back, open the chest. Lower body stays the same. We'll turn to face the right side of the mat now. Come into our warrior two on the right. Take that back arm forward, bow and arrow, back to center. We'll go to each side one more time with these bow and arrow arms. Hopefully it feels a little bit more natural and easier here on the second side. It's that committing it to muscle memory. Once we've done it a few times, it seems more natural. Back in that warrior two on the left. Inhale, flip your front palm, reverse the warrior, stretch the left side of your body. Exhale, left forearm, left thigh, right arm reaches up and overhead, extended side angle. Breathe here for a couple of breaths as you open your chest. Press down through the outer edge of the right foot. On your next exhale, reach that right arm forward. We'll spin into our revolved lunge. So hand can be on a block or the mat. We're on the back toes. Left arm opens up. We open the chest. Step back to side plank. If you need to come onto the back knee for a modified one, you can. If you need to take little steps to get there, arrive in your side plank. Lift that left knee up almost like a tree side plank, and then start adding in those little toe taps. And try not to collapse here through the outside of the right hip, the right side of the body. Keep working those obliques. Next time you come to the back, plant that left foot, come down onto your seat, Marichyasana twist on the other side. So we're facing the back of the mat. Left hand comes up, twist towards the left. Bring your left fingertips behind you. Hug that bent knee in with your right arm. Maybe gaze over your left shoulder if that feels good for your neck. Take a couple of breaths and just release here. Take an exhale. Next inhale, we'll open back up to the center, counter twist it to the opposite side. This almost reminds me like a breakdancing move. So we'll flip back forward. Keep this leg straight. Just come onto the right toes. Left foot reaches up and over. Three-legged plank. You can add that into your vinyasa. Or you can take downward facing dog. Take an inhale in through your nose. Let it go through your mouth in your down dog. Next, inhale, lift your right leg up, high to the sky, three-legged dog. Right knee comes in towards nose. We'll plant the right foot towards the front of the mat, like we're coming for a high crescent lunge, but instead we'll launch right forward into Virabhadrasana 3. So you can always take those little hops with the back foot, or maybe press down through that right foot, hug in the right outer hip, lift that left leg behind you, keep the hip pointing down towards the mat. Hands can stay at heart center. We'll stay here and hold for a breath or two. Play around with arm variations. You can do airplane arms behind you. You can always have hands on blocks for support. You could hold on to the wall. You can have hands at heart center. Or you could try to reach arms up overhead with a long line from fingertips to back toes. Next, exhale, release your left toes down towards the back of the mat. Inhale up into high crescent lunge. Take a breath here. Open up through the front of the left hip. Exhale, hands come down to frame that front foot. We'll lift that right leg right back up into our three-legged downward facing dog. Bend the knee, right heel towards right glute. Open the hip into a scorpion dog. Stay here if this feels fantastic. If you'd like to add in a wild thing and flip your dog, we'll spin that left foot, come onto the right fingertips, land those right toes behind you, lift the hips up, straighten that left leg, right arm reaches up and overhead into a back bend. Breath here. Next exhale, we'll spin back, right hand comes down, spin back onto that left foot, right foot reaches right back up into three-legged dog. Exhale, right knee towards nose, plant the right foot, cartwheel up, warrior two, Virabhadrasana 2. We'll come back to those bow and arrow arms. This time, take that back hand forward, and as you draw it back, you could add in a little Skandasana pulse. You can come onto the right heel, turn the left toe and take a little bend in that back leg. Come back forward, warrior two. Pull it back, bow and arrow, Skandasana. Do a few of these on your own breath. Feel that power, that strength. Every time you think of warrior two, and when you add in these bow and arrow arms, it's strength, it's determination, it's power. What you think you are. So have those thoughts in your mind. You are powerful. Next time we come back towards that warrior two, cartwheel those hands down to frame the front foot, spin onto the back toes. Right foot steps back to meet the left plank. Lift the hips up to down dog or vinyasa. Exhaling back to down dog. Inhale, lift that left leg up, bend that left knee, bring it in towards your nose. Plant your left foot like we're coming for high crescent lunge, but instead launch forward, take hops if you need to. Hands can come down, warrior three on the left. Keep hugging this left outer hip in, ground down through the foot. Stay here and breathe. Play around with arm variations. Maybe reaching arms up overhead. That one's the hardest for me. Your foot can be flex, it can be point, it can be point, whatever helps you balance. Next exhale, right foot steps down, land in that high crescent lunge. Stay here for a breath. Who would think that a lunge would be a resting pose? But after holding warrior three, it certainly feels like it. Exhale, hands come down to frame your front foot. This left foot will step all the way back towards our three-legged dog. Bend your left knee, left heel towards left glute. Open that knee up towards the ceiling. Squeeze that glute. Feel the opening. Maybe flip over into your wild thing, coming onto the left toes behind you, pressing those hips up, squeezing the backside, opening the chest. Breath here in your wild thing. Next, exhale, spin back over, lift that left leg right back up towards your three-legged dog. And then bring that left foot forward, cartwheel up, Virabhadrasana 2 on the left. Take a moment to stack the shoulders over the hips, shoulders down away from the ears. Reach that right arm forward. As you bow and arrow, if you want to add that little pulse through Skandasana, you can. So you'll come onto the left heel. Those right toes will turn out slightly. I know it's kind of hard to do back and forth in this pose, but just a little shift in that back foot. Let's do 2 more. And then come back towards that warrior 2. Cartwheel those hands down, frame that front foot. The left foot steps back to meet the right. Final vinyasa. You can do it. And if you don't want to, you don't have to. These are always optional. Once you land in that downward facing dog, take a big inhale in through the nose. Let it go through your mouth. Lower down onto your knees, cross your ankles, and come onto your seat. On our seat, let's do a Baddha Konasana fold. So I'll turn to face you. You can bring the soles of your feet together, knees open out to the sides, and you can play around with how close your heels are in towards your pelvis. It will kind of depend on everyone. Your own anatomy, what feels best. Ground down through your sit bones. Get a long spine first. Imagine there's a string pulling the crown of your head up towards the ceiling. Take an inhale. On your exhale, hinge at those hips and fold forward over the legs. Try not to take this as a rounding through the back, but more a hinge through the hips. Reach the sternum forward, and then when you find that first kind of point of resistance or edge, you can just stay here, let the upper back and neck round and release, and just breathe. A few cycles of breath here. Feeling that energy, that power flowing through your body. Next inhale, let's roll it back up one vertebrae at a time. Stack the spine. Picturing each one stacking into place, your head coming up last. And then take a gentle twist to each side. So you can have your left hand on the outside of your right foot, right fingertips behind you. And then in our twist, lead here from the heart space, from the sternum. So try to keep the hips with the sit bones grounding down towards the mat. So we're not rocking, can you see, rocking onto like a hip to turn, but we're keeping that lower body the same and taking that twist with our obliques through our thoracic middle spine. Can feel the muscles that help us do that engage. Inhale it back to center, and we'll take it to the opposite side. Get that long spine, and then lead with that heart space. Engage those obliques. Feel that engagement as we twist, as opposed to using the arms and just kind of cranking our torso. We'll inhale it back to center and roll down onto our backs. Bring your strap with you down onto your back. We'll do a reclined big toe to hand, hand to big toe. So you might want your strap. Once you come down onto your back, hug your knees in. If you want to add some little circles, one direction and then the other, that can feel nice. And then we'll reach the left leg long, hug the right knee in into a half wind. And then if you're using your strap, you can hook it around the right sole of your foot. If you're not using your strap, you can take yogi toe lock onto the right big toe or grab the outer edge. And then we'll work to straighten that right leg. So you can use that strap around the sole of your foot. If you're using the strap or your hand, try not to have a rounding through the shoulders and the neck. Keep that relaxed and maybe pull a little bit farther down on your strap, or use a strap if you're noticing that's happening with your hands. And then we'll work to pull the toes back towards the face. One more breath. And then you can take the strap in your right hand. I like to place my left hand on top of my left hip as we open it out to the side. This reminds me not to roll with that leg all the way onto the side. Open up. Next, inhale, bring that leg back up to center. Release the strap if you have it. Bend the knee, hug it in one more time. And then we'll take this into a supine twist to the left. So cross that right knee over towards the left side. Come onto the outside of the left hip. Reach your right arm up and overhead. Open the arms out to the sides. You can stay here and breathe if this is just feeling fantastic here after all of our powerful warrior work. If you want to continue our little powerful bow and arrow theme, you could reach the right arm over towards the left. It probably won't without rolling onto your side. Go all the way there. And then pull like you're pulling on the bow and arrow and open the chest. You can do that a few times. See if that helps you open the chest through your twist. And get that right shoulder blade back down after a few rounds. Just breathe. One more breath. We'll come back to center, hug the right knee in one more time, and then extend that right leg long, hug the left leg in. Give it a squeeze. And then you can take that strap, if you're using it, around the left sole of the foot. Straighten that left leg up overhead. Helps to keep active through that bottom leg as well. Remembering to breathe. Sometimes it can help to bend and straighten the leg a few times. One more breath. Relax through your shoulders. And then take the strap in the left hand, right hand on top of right hip. Open that leg out to the side. A couple of breaths here, stretching through the inner thigh. Next inhale, bring it back to center. Release the strap if you're using it. Hug the left knee in. And then take the left knee over towards the right into a spinal twist. Reach your left arm long up overhead. Open it out to the side. So we have like T-shaped arms. And if you want to add in those bow and arrow arms, the left arm will come towards the right. Open the chest. You can do a few rounds of that. See if that helps open up through the chest and get that left shoulder blade down closer to the mat. And then 3 deep, even inhales and exhales here in our twist. Take the breath to that area that you feel the stretching and the release. It won't actually go there. Sometimes I picture wind just going through my body to that area, but it helps bring our awareness there and maybe remind that area to let go, to relax. Next inhale, come back up to center, hug the left knee in one more time, hug the right knee in, and then we'll extend our legs down towards opposite corners of the mat for Shavasana. You can lift your chest up, tuck your shoulder blades underneath, reach your arms out to your sides with your palms facing up. Maybe take a little tuck in the chin and see if that gets you some length in the back of your neck. Close down your eyes. Take one inhale in through the nose and let it go through the mouth. Just arrive here in Shavasana. All of that powerful warrior work is done. Hopefully you're feeling that inner strength and that power, knowing that you can do hard things, but also knowing that you have the power to listen to your body on a day-to-day basis and do what is right for you. Come back to that mantra or intention that you set at the beginning of class and repeat it to yourself again. I am. You are strong. You are powerful. When you have control over those thoughts in your mind, you can do anything. Whenever you're ready, you can start to take any little micro movements. If you'd like to stay in your Shavasana longer, I will encourage you to do that as well. But if you need to come out, wiggle fingers and toes. Take a nice long good morning stretch, reaching toes and fingers in the opposite direction. Hug your knees in towards your chest, and then roll onto your right side, using your right arm to cradle your head. Stay here in the fetal position for a breath. And then carefully press up onto any comfortable seat, keeping your eyes closed. You can bring your hands to heart center into Anjali Mudra. And I'd like to close this class today with a quote from Maya Angelou. Nothing can dim the light that shines from within. Thank you so much for joining me for this Warrior Flow. Have a fantastic day.